Our family lived overseas for about 5 years in North Africa. We ran a small medical clinic, and through that time, we really saw God's faithfulness to us and His presence with us in ways that we were expecting and not expecting. So we want to share just a story about a time that we really felt God near us, a difficult situation that we went through.
These men were used to hearing stories of the gospel, but now they're saying they're followers of Jesus, and that started piquing the interest in the ears of some of the local officials, and started seeing a pretty good bit of persecution over the last couple of years. Our local governor at the time was not a very friendly guy to me as well, and he tried to get us blocked from coming back to the country a couple of times, and just didn't want us being there, and told me blatantly that I needed to go home and never come back on 2 occasions. And we still decided to go back after being home in the States for a couple of months, and shortly after going back, I was on a logistics run, something I'd never done before in this way before, and gone out to meet a logistics person a couple hours away because we did not have access to a bank or any kind of stuff where we lived. We were 4 hours from the nearest paved road, and so I met a logistics guy a couple hours away, got some supplies, a good bit of money. We were coming back, and my car was targeted and kidnapped, carjacked, and they took us out in the middle of nowhere, laid us down, took everything we had, and just left us. And then we eventually, my driver, my friend and I, we just looked at each other and were like, all right, we got to go find our way home.
That whole day that we didn't really know where Jeff was, it was our daughter Esther's 9th birthday. So we just spent a lot of time just waiting for Dad to get home. And at a certain point, we found out what had happened. He was able to make a call from a borrowed phone that only had like a minute of credit left on it. So I got this frantic message that I really thought was a joke for like half a second until I heard just the intensity in his voice. And then the phone cuts out. So I knew that that they had been kidnapped, that the car had been stolen, and they were somewhere in the desert. And that was, I just didn't know what to do in those first few minutes. It just felt so unreal. Like, how could this be? That just didn't make sense. Like, I couldn't process that this was something that was actually happening to us. This is actually happening. Finally, he calls and says, we'll be home really soon. We're just going to make this report to the governor. And that was such a relief. And then he just didn't come home again. It was just like all over again. Like, what is happening? Where is he? Why is he not home yet? And we're not receiving any information.
We were heading to the governor's mansion to go tell him what had happened. And so we get there, and immediately he was really nasty and was telling me that he had told me to go home and never come back. That this was either my fault or my driver's fault or administrator's fault. And I was just like, I'd had enough, and I was like, I was ready to go home. And he said, you're not going anywhere. And he had me hit in the side of the head by our chief of police and put in a back of a truck and taken to jail.
He didn't have his phone because that had been stolen, so I didn't really have a way to even get in touch with him. But eventually, I started hearing what was actually happening. So it just was just a constant, having to turn to the Lord to be my strength and to walk with me as I was walking through this with my kids, and just trying to figure out how to love them. And when my heart was so not still, but just trusting God to still my heart over and over and over again throughout that day. So he finally walked in the door. We just laid out pallets on the floor because it was past bedtime, and we just all were laying there together with the kids. Nobody wanted to go home or to go to bed until Daddy got home. It was just sweet relief to hold him, to hug him, to have him physically there with us again, when there were so many just questions about what could have happened or the what ifs and what is actually happening, and now he's in jail, and like we just didn't know if we would get to see him that night at all. So for him to get home and to be with us was just like incredibly beautiful moment. Like I knew that things were going to change in some way. We knew that this governor was still really pressing for us to be gone. And in the morning, somebody came to request our passports, which we did not hand over. You're not going to hand over our passports. But we gave them copies. But in all that turmoil, that next morning is like the passports were being asked for. I just had a few minutes to turn to the Lord and I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know what our next step was supposed to be or how I was supposed to feel about it. And he led me straight to Psalm 37. It says, "Fret not yourself because of evildoers. Be not envious of wrongdoers, for they will soon fade like the grass and wither like the green herb. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and befriend faithfulness. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in him, and he will act. He will bring forth your righteousness as the light and your justice as the noonday. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Fret not yourself over the one who prospers in his way, over the man who carries out evil devices. Refrain from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not yourself, it tends only to evil. For the evildoers shall be cut off, but those who wait for the Lord shall inherit the land. In just a little while the wicked will be no more. Though you look carefully at his place, he will not be there. But the meek shall inherit the land and delight themselves in abundant peace." And then verse 34 says, "Wait for the Lord and keep his way, and he will exalt you to inherit the land. You will look on when the wicked are cut off." And then verse 39, "The salvation of the righteous is from the Lord. He is their stronghold in the time of trouble. The Lord helps them and delivers them. He delivers them from the wicked and saves them because they take refuge in him." But the way those words just like leaped off the page and spoke exactly what my heart needed to hear in that moment. It was like there had been times when scripture had been really real to me and really relevant, but there was never a time before that it was just like God's actual words speaking directly, like that was super personal, like so personal. And so those lines about trusting in the Lord and waiting, and him acting on our behalf, like those were the things that I really pulled out of this chapter and those moments.